Money doesn't buy happiness. I'm telling you right now, it fucking does. So I have had no money and I've also had money. And I will say definitely the latter is better. But if you don't have money, go after the money.
Dan Meredith, a UK-based entrepreneur, author, and business and mindset coach who specializes in helping individuals achieve personal and professional growth.
Your book is How to Be Fucking Happy.
I had this success, I had a business, I went through some pretty horrid lows, as we all do in life. It came down to basically
Put action on a pedestal, not your emotion all the time. You've just got to put it in, right?
this is also what I say to people. If you have been doing the same action, same things for a period of time, you're not really seeing any changes, any growth, any movement, then do you know what? Maybe you need to.
What is some of the best life advice you've ever received?
You've got this one vessel. Look after it. Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Look after the vessel you are given.
What is something you're struggling with right now?
It's a really, really good question. Do you know what? I had a...
Dan Meredith, welcome to the show. First and foremost, how are you, mate? You're saying you've got a busy one today. 9 o'clock till 9 you're working.
Yes, mate. A 12-hour today. Rare one for me. I'm not going to lie. I don't usually push it that often. But yeah, long day for me today.
Well, we'll talk a bit about that because I think that's a big thing about the concept of happiness. And, you know, we hear these terms about balanced lifestyle and things like that. So I think that's going to be a really important thing to get a little bit more of your experience and wisdom on, is living a happy lifestyle, living a balanced lifestyle, quote unquote. But I want to start really with the book, and your book is How to Be Fucking Happy. That's your most recent book.
Indeed it is.
I just want to ask you why. You know, you'd already written books before. You've already had a success with the book that you wrote. That was a major success. And, you know, so many people took so much from that. Why did you write this one? Where did this come from?
The honest answer was, it was the kind of whole, like a lot of musicians say, it was that tricky second album. So when I wrote the first book was written at a day's planning, 3.5 days of writing, 2 days of no sleep. It was literally done on a whim. There was no plan. There was no strategy. My goal was to sell 500 copies from a trestle table at a big event that I put on, also all within 5 weeks. So within 5 weeks, my goal was to write a book, launch my membership site, put an event on from cold. I don't drink anymore, but it was a drunken idea. We just did it. We booked a very famous guest speaker, and then we just basically thought, better figure out how to do it. And then it went wild. I mean, obviously, several 100,000 to 1 million plus. We don't know how many because unfortunately we lost a little bit of the data, but a lot of books were sold. Did not expect it to do as well as I was. And then basically the second book was 8 years later. So what I'm doing now, I wasn't doing at the time of the first book, and I went through some pretty horrid lows, as we all do in life, which we'll come to obviously at the natural point in this conversation. And I realized that I wasn't happy. So I'd had this success, I had a business, I had lots of things and this is a very British thing as well. You're allowed to be successful to a point, and then you're not allowed to have any problems. You're not allowed to be sad. You can't be depressed. You can't be lonely. You just have to shut the fuck up because you're okay. You've got money. You're doing all right. And I went through some very challenging sort of internal periods. And then I realized it came down to basically one night. And I say this in the start of the book. I might as well just get this bit out of the way. 2020 was not a good year for all of us with COVID, but obviously we all started the year with COVID. I have a physical business as well, had to close that down for a period of time. Then I found out my dad got cancer. He then passed away in the July. Then I had my very first ever, as far as I'm aware, truly narcissistic relationship, which is something I'd never experienced before. And lots of other shit just happened. It was just a really shit year. And I remember getting a call from my mum. My mum knows, day to day, if you need me, if it's urgent, call, but normally just, send a message and I'll get back to you when I'm done. My phone starts ringing in the middle of a coaching call. And as soon as someone starts off, especially as a parent, I don't want you to worry. Your immediate thing is you're gonna fucking worry. So I was like, okay. So I said to my client, I said, look, I've got to go, need to see this. So dad's gone at this point. Mum's never been in a car accident, but she was in a car accident that day. Now, my little sister is special needs mentally, anywhere between 5 and 10. She basically was brain damaged when she was younger. And then a few years prior to that, and this will make sense in a moment, she broke her neck. Now, she should have died from that as well as the various other things she's had, but survived an 8-hour operation. And effectively, her head is held on by a bolt, a fancy screw. So C1 for a C1 break. So her skull is held on to her neck via a bolt. So sort of thing. It's called a hangman's break. So you should have died from it. So anyway, my sister gets on the phone and she's panicking. And now again, I'm not saying you can or can't laugh at this, but when you're hearing this on the other end, my little sister is convinced her head is going to come off. So I said, no, Anna, it's fine. Everything's going to be okay, but I'll come round and just, I'll check in. She'd been to the doctors and everything. So I'm a keen motorcyclist as well. Literally next town over, rode over, said, all good, calmed her down, played Uno, made sure everyone was okay. Mum was fine. Said, it's just a car. We'll buy you a new one. Like, don't worry about it. And the journey that I do home multiple times a week after popping over, I was just literally pottering along, wasn't speeding. I have very loud, fast, but bright and shiny motorbikes that you can't see. I've got reflective stuff on. And a lady was at a junction and she admitted full fault of this, but just decided to press the accelerator button when she saw me and run me over. So I ended up finding myself in hospital. I was in the middle of a launch with, I think, a concussion, 2 or 3 broken ribs, had a bit of Mini Cooper stuck in my leg, which was operated on to take out. And I was just lying there on the bed. I didn't have a partner. My friends were all, elsewhere. And I was just literally lying on a hospital bed, battered, and thinking, my first book was called How to Be Fucking Awesome. And I thought, this isn't a really fucking awesome life, to be honest with you. And I asked them, and I realized I was going home on my own. So sweet talk the doctors to give me as much drugs as I could to literally get me home. This is in mid-COVID as well. Bribed a taxi driver to help me get up the stairs. Sat in my chair. I remember just sitting there just thinking, this is not the life I planned to be. And I just started literally, because I couldn't physically go anywhere. So I literally just sat in this chair for nearly 20 hours. And you can imagine, how enjoyable that was. And just thinking and just reflecting on everything. And I thought, do you know what? I'm not happy. And I'm fed up of saying that I am. And I'm going to do it. So I always have, my attitude is always, we've got 2 choices. You can either piss and moan and whinge about it, which I talk about in my first book. I'm a big fan of a 24-hour pity party. So you can complain and moan and be sad, but then you need to just shut up and get on with shit. And I decided to set about making myself happy again.
I almost feel like we just need to take a moment, because I know that's your real life and you've lived that, and then you've told that story and you've written about it multiple times. But for anyone listening, like, we just need to be clear, that wasn't fiction. That was your real life. Because it's almost like, what? That's like a movie. I mean, it's a great start for a book, right? So I
can add a little bit of humor as well. My mother is a gifter. She's always given me treats and sweets and all sorts. And she gave me a Christmas decoration, and it was a Christmas tree that you spun out of the base and it played a Christmas tune. But there's only other way to describe it. It looked like a foot-tall gold butt plug. And I remember saying to my mum, imagine if I get run over on the way home. I'm in full leather as well, with that in my backpack. I said, that is not going to be my lasting legacy. But yeah, all of that happened within the space of, 10 months.
I mean, you said there you've got choices, and one is to, you can have your pity party and then you've got to shut up and get on with it. But if anyone's listening to that now that's in a dark place, like, how did you, from a mindset perspective, when you're sat on that, in your bed that night thinking, I'm not feeling awesome, I'm not happy, what is that journey like? How did you shut up and move forward?
First thing, as I made a list of all the stuff that I'm not happy about. Like, it seems really simple. I talk about it with my own co-host in my podcast. We talk about just the act of writing things down, just getting them out of your head. So I'm like, okay, I'm not happy. So what am I not happy about? So I made a list of all of the things that I'm not happy about. And this has ended up being one of the things I talk about called my red book, black book method, which I developed. And we can talk about that obviously at the right point, which I use with a lot of my clients now. So I made a list of all the things that I wasn't happy about. Then I ranked them, and the things that were causing me the most immediate pain. And, from 1, 2, 3, 1 being, most severe, down to 3 being, I could give or take. I looked at the ones, and then I wrote every single one out on a separate page. And I made a list of things that I could do to either control, influence, persuade, motivate, or change. So basically what I could do to make the needle swing the right way. And that's what I started doing. And I started plugging those actions into my diary. I replanned my diary. I reprogrammed everything. I spoke to my clients. I changed how I worked my week, and I just put myself first again. I focused on the things that I could control. So I got my sleep in order. I got my nutrition in order. Obviously, after the sort of rehab phase, I got my fitness and training in order. So I thought, well, those are things I can all control. So I thought I'll focus on all of those first. Next was connection for me. I realized I was really missing connection. I feel incredibly grateful that the online world has provided me with such a great, lucrative career, and I've met some amazing people for it. But if I don't allow myself elsewhere, I will literally just be in my house all day long. So I thought, cool, I need to go and connect with other people. One of the things that I was missing in my life was masculine energy. I like my gym and stuff, but I like, there wasn't really many men I was around at the time. So I joined a boxing club, got back into boxing again. So just to be around just other normal guys. I started doing hobbies. I reached out to friends, and I realized just everyone's just busy. So I'm like, well, I'll just be the person that arranges shit, and I'll, put things in place. And I started literally putting these things in my diary, whether it be date nights with my boys, once a month I'll go away and see a friend that I haven't seen before. I even have, put notes in my diary to reach out to friends I haven't spoken to before. I would just send them a meme or something like that. So connection was the next thing. And then once I'd basically rebuilt Dan, for want of a better phrase, and I was feeling cool, I'm in a solid place now, I'm happier, I'm healthier, then it sort of parlayed into business. I'm like, cool, now how can I make my business make me and other people happy as well? So basically it all started off with a list of all the things that I could control, and then breaking that list down into actions, and then taking those actions. And that sounds really patronizingly simple, but that was it.
Well, there's something I say all the time, which is look after the basics, and the basics will look after you. And I think that's just a really good example of that. Just, it's really basic, but that's what's going to work. It's simple. It is the simple stuff that often does work. And I think connection is something, I know a topic you speak about a lot is like, as we're getting older, people can find it difficult to find friendships, relationships, and also, in the romantic sense as well. Like, at school, it just seems a lot simpler. You just, at school, loads of other people your own age, and you just find your tribe and find the people that you're attracted to, whatever. I just wondered, for a lot of people listening to this, I'm sure they are in that category of feeling like, yeah, I don't know how to make friends now. And obviously you just listed it off there, like, right, I'm going to put it in the diary. I'm going to make it something that I prioritize and I focus on. But if somebody is a little bit like, oh, I just don't know how to do it, what's some of your advice from your experience?
Okay. Well, I don't mind admitting this. I absolutely fucking love it. I'm a massive Warhammer 40,000 nerd, which is basically a tabletop gameplay system. So I was like, again, part of the list I made of all the things that I used to do and love doing that made me happy before. So, I joined a motorbike club, I joined a boxing club, I went along to a Warhammer gaming night, and I just went along to places where I thought people like me would hang out. And I treated it much like I would a business. We'll do something called, an avatar or an ideal client avatar exercise, where you will come up with a plan to, build this framework of who this person you're looking to market your product and services to. And then you create marketing to go and attract that person. So I just did the same thing. I thought, where are people that I am going to hang out? What are they doing? And, let's go to the places there are. And I just forced myself to go along to stuff. And I even met my partner exactly the same way. I tried the apps a couple of times, worked for me, honestly. I spend my day on a phone. The last thing I want to do is go back onto the phone again and have insipid conversation after insipid conversation. So I thought, do you know what? I'll back myself And I thought to myself, I'm going to start going to, personal development events, business events, marketing events, meetups, entrepreneurship stuff. And actually, a friend of mine had a red carpet release of his Netflix documentary. He's an entrepreneur. I coached him. He's done really, really well. And I met my partner at that event. And I said to myself, do you know what? I'm going to back myself. And I wasn't going there with a plan to meet her. That wasn't my goal, but I was, was open to meeting, someone new and someone different. And it's exactly the same with friendships. Like, where are my people potentially hanging out? Go hang out there. That was my plan.
I think there's a lot to be said there for backing yourself and just making a commitment. Like you referred to there, it's so easy now to take the easier routes in life. And it's like the online space, it's so much easier to just meet someone on an app or join a Facebook group or whatever. But actually, the effort of getting out and putting yourself out there and being a bit more vulnerable, you can't just turn the phone off when you're in person having a conversation. And I think there's a lot to be said for that, is going back to those roots and forcing yourself. For some of us, it might be a little bit more uncomfortable and it's not as easy, but often those easier decisions are not the best decisions or the right decisions, right? So it is about having that confidence, I guess, to push yourself out there. You spoke there a little bit about you've developed something called the red book, black book method. Do you want to just share a little bit about what that actually is?
It's just a little mindset model I use. So anytime I am faced with, I'll do it generally once a month or once a quarter, and I will write out a list of all the problems that I have, all the shit that I need to sort, things I need to figure out. So basically everything that's in my head, I will put into the black book. So basically it's just a list. It's just a list of all the shit I got to sort: personal, professional, business, health, money, the works. All goes into the book. Then I have shit tons of red books, and then I write each one of those subject lines. So I'll generally sleep on it. Some of them I might cross out. I might add a few more to it, but I generally do that over a 24-hour period. Then I grab a fresh red book and I write out, and this is it's just a mindset shift. So instead of thinking, oh, I've got no money, for example, or I'm overweight, or I'm lonely. Okay, so you think about the negative. I literally write, how do I solve the problem of, and whatever the thing is. So immediately my brain goes into problem solving mode. So and I have this is my own little personal little bit of discipline / misery. So they're all got a headline. Each one has got, how do I solve the problem of, launching this new business? How do I solve the problem of being able to fit 4 training sessions a week in? How do I solve the problem of, not seeing whatever it may be, right? And I do not leave the table, even if I'm desperate for a piss, until I've written at least 3 possible solutions for each one. And then I go back through all of those solutions again, much like I did with that first one. I rank them, which is causing me the most pain. Number 1, 2, somewhere in the middle, 3, not that important really. And I try and look at the pain now and also months and years down the line. So there's some things which I'm working on now, which aren't actually causing me a problem now. But if I don't address them now, there's a little phrase I use, which is future you will thank you. Future you turns up at some point. So I try and sort of almost think, right, if I don't sort of make changes, where is this going to go? And I almost sort of try and envisage the graph of where it's going to end up. I have to do it in business quite often, but I do it also personally as well. If I forget to do certain things, don't take certain actions, like I have a metal hip thanks to being run over, and I've got a metal ankle / leg thanks to a hilarious boxing injury. So I have to stretch every single day. I fucking hate stretching. It brings me no joy. Getting punched in the face, fine. Lifting heavy things, fine. Stretching, hate it. But I know an older version of me is going to turn up that is going to be unable to do certain things if I don't look after my mobility now. So that's one of those things which is not pressing now, but I have to think future me is going to be glad I did that. So I make sure I do those things. Same with my business, same with my personal life as well.
I love that. How would you tell someone that's 19 to think like that? Or can you? Because I'm almost thinking, like, I'm sure a lot of us, once you pass 30 and beyond, you go, this makes loads of sense. I'm going to listen to this. Because we realize the decades seem to be going by a bit quicker than
they're whipping past.
Right? So now you're like, yeah, I do care about future me. Whereas 19-year-old Matt would just be like, oh man, when I'm 30, I'll be nearly dead anyway. What does it matter? But it's a different mindset shift in it that you do appreciate actually I think even things like saving for pensions and investing in your
Yeah.
future again. But how, I don't know, can we help younger people get this, or do they just need they say youth is wasted on the young, don't they? Maybe they just
I got to be honest, I don't actually have an answer for that. I think it's a case of, I think, I will still say from my youth, I'm glad I had the youth I had and, did the things I did and made the mistakes
yeah.
that I made. But it's not until, it's like having insurance. Like people often get like medical health insurance after they've had a medical or health issue. It's just human nature. So unfortunately, sometimes you have to have some shit happen to you before you take advantage of it.
Now, I saw you sent me over some graphs around the correlation around, I believe it was around happiness and finances and money. And
Yeah.
obviously, this is an ongoing conversation of like a lot of us grew up like, money won't make you happy and all this kind of stuff. So I wonder if you could tell us, and again, just thinking about what you shared earlier about how you had success in business and a certain level of financial success, and then still found yourself in a position going, actually, I'm not happy. Through your research, what have you found out about those correlations and some of those graphs that you sent over about happiness and wealth?
Well, first of all, okay, there's the whole money doesn't buy happiness.
Yeah.
Telling you right now, it fucking does. Okay. So anyone who says it, do you know what? And I say this, there was a period of my life where I had genuinely, it was a 6 week period. I had £22 to my name, and I was genuinely timing because I had to work as a doorman for a little period of time because my corporate job absolutely screwed me. Took all my shares. I had nothing. I had 22 quid. And there was a Pret a Manger next to, I just said the brand name, but anyway, the next to where I used to work the doors, and they do the alarms, and I know I had 10 beeps to literally run in there, nick as many sandwiches out as I could out of the bin as possible, and then get back again before it locked. Wow. So I have had no money, and I've also had money. And I will say definitely the latter is better. But and the reason I will always say that is because even if you are unhappy, but you have money, that money can allow you to buy freedom, can buy options, it can buy help, it can buy resources, it can buy back time. So I think I say that in the end of the book. If you don't have money, go after the money. Get the money, because it will make your life a lot. Yeah, it will make your life a lot easier. Okay, when you start to get that in, then you can start to solve some of the other problems. But if you're literally struggling to pay the bills, struggling to pay yourself, struggling to eat, and go after the fucking money. I will stand by that. But once you make the money, then you need to figure out, okay, cool, is this what I want? Okay, but obviously it's easier to do when you're a stronger position. So that's why I always say go after the money first, and obviously kind of then sort of like assess as you go along. One of the things that I've realized, I did nothing but chase the money. Now, I saw a documentary when I was in my early 20s where people like my sister were put into care homes in the catchment area where I live, and they were beaten, hosed down with water, had food thrown in their faces. They were treated horrifically. And I thought, that's my sister's future. So I thought, well, I've got a functional brain and body. I know how to chat. I can sell. Let's go out there and try and see if I can, change the direction of my family's future. Don't come from a wealthy family at all. And that's what I did. But I was conscious of the sacrifices I made. I made sacrifices on my physical health, my mental health, my relationships. Do I regret them? No. Do I wish I'd have done things differently? Probably yes, because I sacrificed everything for work, literally everything. I didn't see my friends. I barely saw my family. My relationship at the time broke down. I'm aware that's all my fault. Even the good stuff is my fault. Bad stuff is my fault. I take full ownership for, where I am and where I was then. But if I'd have been smarter and known some of the things that I know now, I would have factored in, no phone times, being more connected, being more present, making my physical health and sleep more of a priority than they were. I'd have still had to have worked my ass off to get there, but I would have been a bit smarter with how I'd have done it.
And you speak about alcohol and how that played a part in your life, and it doesn't play a part in your life now. And I just think it's quite an important topic. I know it's something a lot of people have difficult relationships with, and especially people when they're handling a lot of pressure and maybe entrepreneurship and things like that. And if you're happy to talk about it, I just wondered if you could share a little bit about what that decision to stop drinking, where that came about? And
Yeah, totally. So I had first business I had was an agency. Um, I'm a very good networker, pretty decent salesman, very good at getting into places that I shouldn't. So I was very good at getting into all these masterminds and networks in the right room with the right people. So I managed to sort of scale that business up from nothing, like genuinely nothing, to sort of six figures plus a month. Um, and I was also come from a recruitment background, so I was very good at recruiting team members. So as I was growing, I was recruiting staff in. So my actual workload became less and less. And before I knew it, I'd got, teams and systems and managers and all this kind of stuff in place. And, it's natural to have a couple of drinks at the end of the day. That was fine. The end of the day got shorter and shorter. My partner at the time was a dancer. She was touring the world. So I was kind of on my own quite a lot. So I just started drinking earlier and earlier. And it got to the point where it just became, two became four, four became six, six became half a bottle. Grey Goose was my drink of choice. I remember trying some for the first time in my 30s, thinking, well, this doesn't taste of anything. I could drink loads of this. And then, yeah, I mean, it ended up being a bottle of vodka, a bottle of Grey Goose a night, every single night. That was what I did. But I was fully functional. So I was still going to the gym, still showing up for my clients, still doing my job. But it was getting out of hand, and nothing bad happened, but occasionally I'd say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing or just fuck up and just make an absolute twat of myself. And I used to call it rolling sixes. So I'm like, I'd wake up the next morning, sort of check my phone, just think, didn't do anything too stupid last night. Cool, we're all fine. And I thought, I'm rolling sixes here. And then I had a few fives and a few fours. And I said, I am one night away from a one, posting something utterly ridiculous, saying the wrong thing to someone, maybe on a night out, mishearing someone. I'm not a violent or aggressive person, but, maybe getting into some sort of altercation or something. I thought, you know what? I'm just done. I said, this is not adding value to my life. It's making me look like shit, feel like shit. It's a crutch. And I just stopped. I just decided I'd had enough. And I thought as I said, I'm one bad night away from, especially because a lot of my life was online, from ruining all of this. So I just stopped. And that was it. And that was, I think, I don't even know how long ago, 7 years ago, I think I had my last drink, maybe 8. And I just said, no, I'm done. And that's it. Never had one since.
well, I was gonna say, like, what advice you'd give to somebody that's maybe recognizing the same patterns, but I don't know, is that something that's quite unique to you? Is that part of your personality type that once you just make a decision, you're quite good at just sticking to it and just saying enough's enough?
If you could, like, I've got nothing. Like, I have alcohol in the house, like, literally over there. I mean, you can't see me because I'm pointing it, but I've got, bottles of wine and spirits and stuff. Like, I'm completely fine around alcohol. And people are really cool. I've got to be honest, people are actually really cool around it. Like, even if I had a friend who wanted to cook with wine, and I was like, no, it's fine. Like, don't worry about it. It's all good. But for me, I don't have any self-control issues around alcohol because I said no to it. Do I believe if you can moderate your alcohol, awesome, like, fair play to you. But if you're finding it's causing you problems, just get rid of it. Honestly, I'm not gonna preach to people about doing it, but for me and for people I know, if moderation does not work for you, just get rid of it. Get it out of your life. And honestly, after a couple of social events, first few times of going out, you suddenly realize, fucking hell, I don't need this. And you realize how drunk people are generally twats. And you will have been one of them at some point. And it's like, you're like, oh my God, is this what I used to sound like? Is this what I used to be like? And then you're like, oh my absolute days.
Yeah, I've definitely been that twat.
Yes.
I'm seeing him now, but it's weird. I think I've been through a similar thing where I've just gone, it just does not add enough value to warrant doing it. And for me, I guess where I'm different to you, Dan, is, you know, I do feel, yeah, I couldn't function on it. I would feel the difference. My productivity is a lot lower. My energy's lower. My mood's lower. Like, I would feel the impacts pretty much straight away. So I don't know. I've just gone through a thing recently where I'm just like, I just don't drink. But interestingly, what I picked up on what you said is you don't even know how long since you stopped. And I think that's very telling. I think I've heard people speak about, when you count in the days,
Yeah.
it's still part of your identity. Like, oh, it's been 6 days since I stopped. And almost that could mean I don't know. It's not always the best way of doing it because you still believe you're a drinker or whatever,
Yeah,
right?
for me, I just decided that's not who I want to be anymore.
Yeah.
So I said no. And that's it. I just stopped.
Amazing. All right, let's talk a bit about business because I know a lot of people are a part of this membership. A lot of people that listen to the show are, either new to business or have a bit of a side hustle or they're thinking of getting into business. And I think one thing that doesn't piss me off, but I think can be frustrating for people listening to a podcast is they hear things like what you said, which is all the sales you had with the book and, all the, 6-figure months. And people go, wow, that's amazing. Wow, you're the person that can definitely help me. But it's a lot of the times on podcasts, we don't get the real detail. Like, I know a big thing that you did is build a really substantial online community. I know a lot of people in my membership are working on building their own communities within their own niches and so on. And they see all these quote unquote gurus just saying, this is what you need to do, give value, show up every day, be consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And then they do that for a period of time and they're not getting the results they think they should be getting. And then they question it. Is the advice right? Is it me that's the problem? Am I not cut out for it? So I just wondered if you could just give some real good, tangible advice from your experience. How did you build that community and get those sort of results?
Well, the community was based around my drinking, to be honest with you, because if I say I'm going to be somewhere at a time, I'm a big believer in, keeping your word, and actually your word is a very powerful thing. And also, I do things whether I want to do them or not. So if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. I had a friend who I promised I would go and see play she's about 2 hours away. And this was before I had a contracted role on a Thursday that I worked. So I said I was going to do it. I had to leave here. It was a 6-hour round trip where I got in at 2 a.m. to see my friend play a 45-minute set while I had to get up at 6 to obviously go for the day job. Doing what you say you're going to do and doing it properly is incredibly powerful. For me, as I said, the community was about, for me, it was about basically getting shit done. So I said, well, look, I'll show up at 9 and 2, give some advice, give some value. And if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. So I thought, well, that would help me, knock the drinking on the head. So I'm not going to have a lazy lie-in or whatever. But if you want genuine, tangible, useful advice, if I was to say what I do exactly the same again if I had to rebuild it. Literally, I did 2-hour work blocks a day, 7 days a week, 1 hour of new business development, 7 days a week. I posted 4 times a day, 7 days a week. And I did that for 2 years. Now, is that realistic for everyone? No, not at all. That's what I chose to do. And that's whilst also going to masterminds, events, networking, connecting with people. But I had a discussion with a mentor at the time, and he said, would you be willing to sacrifice, 2 to 5 years of your life to live the rest of your life completely on your terms? And my answer was yes. If you were to ask me that now, my answer is still yes. That was my choice. That was what I chose to do. So I found a simple routine that I could do, and I did it Monday through Sunday, whether or not I wanted to or not. And that was it. Had something of value, had something of use, and I just was relentless showing up 7 days a week, exactly that format that I said.
I think this is a really good topic to go a bit deeper on as well, because I've thought about a lot, over the years about when I'm giving advice, I just care a lot about people and I care a lot about longevity, sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
I often question things like health, and I think, no goal's more important than your health and so on. And so I'm big on helping people construct, that sustainable approach to success.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, I think the advice you would give to somebody on year 5 would be different to year 1, to day 1, and so on. And I can't think of anybody that hasn't got a story similar to what you've just said there, where, in other words, there was massive work ethic, there was consistency, there was a relentless work ethic. And I sometimes question if some people that listen to my show and my message and my coaching are not getting that bit, which is, like you said there, if you've not got the money, for example, go for the fucking money. And that's 7 days a week, no days off, maybe. And we're not saying, everything's gonna, it's not like a one size fits all, but do you think
No, I was lucky
an
to be able to
importance?
do that. There was a choice, but I mean, again, if you have a full-time job and a family, then and you want to build something for yourself, then I can't magic time for you. You're going to have to get up earlier, go to bed later. You're going to have to do some work. You're going to have to make some sacrifices. And I think sometimes, unfortunately, in the space that I'm in, it's like, oh, you can have everything. And you know what? You can have pretty much everything you want after you've worked really fucking hard for a period of time. It's that bit they keep forgetting at the start. There's a period of sacrifice and discomfort and just honestly stuck in ass. Okay, it's just unpleasant for a period of time, but you have to show up and you have to do the work. And I showed up whether or not I wanted to. I've been very open. I've had, highs and lows in my mental health and stuff. And whether or not I wanted to show up, I did.
Yeah,
that was it. Whether or not I wanted to.
That's a phrase that I say, which is put action on a pedestal, not your emotion all the time. There's a time and a place for emotion and feelings and for reflection. But actually, if you want results, there has to be a level of being able to just put the action on the pedestal, not how you feel. Do it irrespective. And I know you spoke, actually, I was listening to one of the episodes, Body and the Beast, which is one of the podcasts that you do with Jamie Alderton, and you've literally just recently released an episode on this it was called Balls Deep, wasn't it? Where you were just saying but it's that idea, I guess, that it's a season.
Yeah.
I feel like my audience are like, what? But there is a season where you've just got to put it in, right?
Yeah, all in. I mean, the thing is, I am a big fan of, showing up daily, consistent work ethic, something that is sustainable, like something you can do. And I will generally help people define the actions that statistically over time will get them to where they want to be. That's a key thing. But this is also what I say to people. If you have been doing the same action, same things for a period of time, you're not really seeing any changes, any growth, any movement, then do you know what? Maybe you need to work fucking harder for a period of time. I'm not talking about forever, but maybe you need to put a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. I don't know, where you say, do you know what? I'm going to go all in on that thing and just see if I can hit this goal / milestone and absolutely go for it. Is it sustainable? Absolutely not. Completely not at all, which is why I set myself what I call, blast and cruise. So I'll do, for me, 90 days of pure all-out effort followed of 90 days of just ticking it along. That's a cycle that's worked very well for me. You can come up with your own.
And you mentioned strategic shit throwing, I think is the phrase you said.
Yeah. So for example, there was a new shift I've got. So I've got a new business that's coming out next year that I knew enough about it to, do the business, otherwise I wouldn't do it. But the actual sort of launch and growth and who I would connect with and how I would bring it all together, I had a rough idea. So basically, strategic shit throwing is just trying and doing lots of things that I think are going to work and seeing what does. Too many people are afraid to just try stuff. Like I've done that over the last, as of recording, 3 and a bit months of strategic shit throwing. That has now materialized into something that could be pretty fucking life-changing for me. But I just kept giving stuff a go, reaching out to people, doorstepping people. Like I turned up at people's offices and just see if they're free for a coffee. I went to events. I spoke at Master. I just literally put myself out there and had conversations with people I thought could help me, might be able to get involved with. Maybe I could pay them, whatever. Okay. And it was a guess. It was a best guess. And I thought, right, well, if I do these actions and I meet these people and I put these things together, then that should work. I don't know if it's going to work until I try it. So that's the concept of strategic shit throwing.
I love it though, and I think it's something I'm really pleased that you openly share with everybody, because I think people think that somebody like you just need to know everything, and you've got all the steps, and you've been in the game a long time, so you just know this tried and tested strategy that you apply to everything. And I think also people don't take enough action because they wait to have the next 10 years all written out with this clear step-by-step strategy. And what I found time and time again is it just doesn't exist. You just learn through doing and through getting it wrong and then adapting, evolving as you go. That said, is there anything that does stand out for you now? If we look at specifically do's and don'ts of like launches, whether somebody is watching that's going to do, that wants to do a successful launch, whether it be a launch of a book or a course or anything, is there anything you could share that's like, these are some pretty solid, sound piece of advice to follow?
Well, I mean, if it's something, okay, first of all, remove any degree of shame. Okay. message everyone, if people interact with your content, if they like your stuff, if they have as many conversations as you can, interact with people, connect with people, have conversations with people, lead with value. So literally just have, and I will say, you know, for me, the more conversations I have in a day over time, the more money I will make. So literally definitely believe, obviously, you know, again, launches specifically, have a really fucking good product, you know, actually have something that does what it says it's going to do. Don't under promise and over deliver, you know, create something good that people want. And whether it fails or flies, it's just data. Do not attach your worth, happiness, success, whatever, on whatever happens to that. I've had some launches that have absolutely smashed it. Others I'm like, well, that's embarrassing. Okay. Now I just treat anything like that as just data. And then I'll look at it, go, why did that work or why didn't it work? And then I'll go again on the next time. But what I will say is just, again, that I have like three, it's in the book, three simple things. It's connection, conversations, and content. And if you put out content every single day, you connect with new people every single day, and you have conversations every single day and set targets around them. You know, it might be like 2 pieces of content, 5, you know, 3 conversations. You're going to connect with 5 people a day. I don't know. It's up to you. Depends on what marketing methods you use. But being intentional with those 3 things will make a huge difference to your business. And just be shameless. Like the thing that I've got going through at the moment is off the back of me cheekily asking a friend of a friend for an introduction. That's it. This could be worth, you know, many tens, if not hundreds of millions of revenue. This is insane. But it's off the back of me being cheeky and saying, could you introduce me? And just got me in there for a coffee. And that's it. But again, don't ask, don't get. And there's a phrase that I love, and it was by a friend of mine from up north, a southerner, as you can tell, which was shy kids don't get sweets. And he used to say that all the time. And honestly, I love that phrase because it's true. If you don't ask, you don't get. Worst that's going to happen is you get either ignored, ghosted, or told no. That's it.
I think some of the best advice you could give. I think people, we all know we all do it to a certain degree, but I think these conversations are really important to just bring perspective and go, why are we so bothered all the time of how people are going to judge us? Like, if
too many people, everyone's worried about their own shit. Like and I hope this lands in the way, and I don't mean you aren't important, but none of you listening are important as you think as you are. And what I mean by that is you are not occupying hardly anyone's headspace, you know, and you're far wrapped up in your own thoughts than anyone else is in yours. So just do your thing. Seriously, no one gives a fuck.
There you go. Dan, this has been ace. What I'm going to go into now is some of the general life questions that I ask every guest that comes on this show. So, and these are totally unprepared for you, I know. So just whatever stands out to you, what comes to mind. So the first question that I ask is, what is some of the best life advice you've ever received and why?
Oh, that's a good one. Do you know what? It was, I don't know who said it, so I can't remember, but it said, imagine you are 18 years old and you're given a car and you're told that car is the only car you're going to have for the rest of your life. Are you going to rag the fuck out of it? You know, put shit fuel in it, you know, run it round corners, smack it into things? Or are you going to look after that car pretty well? Because you got one, that's your one car for life. And it's basically around your kind of, you know, your body and your brain and stuff. This is it. This vessel, you know, whatever's next, whether there's something or nothing, obviously, you know, you're entitled to your own beliefs. I think there's something. I don't know what it is. And there's 2 things that's going to happen. Either 1, I'll find out what the thing is, or 2, nothing. So either way, I'm fine. Okay. That's my personal beliefs. But you've got this one vessel. Look after it. Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Look after the vessel you are given. You've just got one.
Love it. All right. Next one is the flip side. What's some of the worst advice and why? I know there's a lot of people giving advice more than ever these days. So anything stand out for you?
That it's easy. Do you know what? Nothing against anyone listening who is overly spiritual, but I have seen the peace and flow and love and light crowd say that it doesn't involve, hard work and just, let the universe guide you. Nah, universe still needs you to fucking work. You still got to do stuff. So I'd say anyone who says it's easy is lying. Generally it takes longer than you think, more effort than you think, there's more sacrifices than you think. So if anyone says it's easy, anyone can do it, I take that shit with a pinch of salt. And also, just when you're looking, especially on the internet, it's really, really easy to fake success, lifestyle, looks. Okay. Look for longevity. So go back over not just months, but years. See if that person has a consistent track record of, achieving the things they say they'll be doing. I've been saying the same stuff for over a decade now. I haven't really, I've evolved and changed and learned, but my core principles are still the same. So yeah, that's hopefully some useful advice. But yeah, if it's everyone said it's easy and trying to sell you something that is just straightforward, it's no effort, bullshit.
All right, the next one. What is one of the biggest mistakes you've made in your past, and what did you learn from it?
Trusting someone when it came down to a contractual obligation. So basically, this was where I lost everything. That moment I told you when I was living basically off what the food. I think I remember correctly. I had half a tub of protein, a jar of Marmite, and a loaf of mighty white bread. That's what I had to live off. So I really had very, very little to eat for a period of time. So I would just say, I trust people, but I think it's a case of, the hardest thing for me to learn was that this person basically took everything away from me and they could do so legally because I trusted them. So I would just say, still go into all, I imagine people's trustometer like 100%, and then the actions they do bring that percentage down. So just, if you're going into anything contractual or negotiations, or if people say they're going to do something, it's not that I take it with a pinch of salt, but until I see the actual results or actions appear, I don't tend to believe people. So sort of again ties back into what I was saying about keeping your word is a really important thing. And people do remember the shit you don't do.
So the next one's quite a vulnerable question, and it's with the concept that I think often listening to guests on this show, they can sound like the people that have been through challenges, been through a journey, and now they've come out the other end and everything's perfect. And now we're here to learn from them. So it's my belief that, at every step, I mean, you've probably heard the phrase that people say, for a new level, there's a new devil, and all these kind of things, that it's not that you just arrive and life's easy. There's always challenges. So if you're happy to share, the next question is, what is something you're struggling with right now? And what is the thing you're doing to help you overcome it?
Well, I don't mind admitting this at all. So you're saying this earlier about the decades whipping past. I think I was 31. I thought last week. I'm 44 now. I will say the thing that I'm finding challenging is just how, I say this, I own a gym as well. So my boys are in there like 30. And I sort of said to them, I keep telling them what's down the barrel, obviously, as in what's down the line for them in their 40s. And I say, for me, it's just, I'd say the thing, it's not the challenges, but it's definitely something to notice. It's just, I feel different, my energy's different. I can't do some of the things that I couldn't do some of the things I used to as I've got older. But I decided to fight the aging process like a shithouse rat as hard as I can, like I'm trying to hang on for my dear life. So I am, like right now, I am doubling down on my sleep, my supplementation, my nutrition, anything to optimize my body or my brain and make me feel better, I'm doing. And actually, I'm probably in, better shape than I was in my 30s. I'm fit, strong, fast, even though a couple of my joints are made out of metal. Like I don't allow, I'm noticing changes as I'm getting older, but I'm refusing to accept them. So I'm like, cool, I might feel a certain type of way, or I can't do that movement anymore. So, all right, well, I'll figure out a way around that, figure out a way to kind of combat it, I'd say. So I definitely say aging is the kind of different, just feeling different, like so the energy changes and how you sleep changes and what you can eat as much changes, but just saying, okay, I just see it as another challenge to try and overcome. So yeah, that's the biggest thing that I've sort of noticed recently is just age kicking in and a few age related changes that, again, I feel, and do you know what? I feel really lucky to have them. So people who don't live, I'm 44. I've got a friend who died when he was 11. He got hit by a car. I'm still here. So I think aging is a wonderful thing, but also that's definitely the sort of things that I'm, noticing, like your body, your brain, what you think about, how you perceive things change as you get older. And it's just, working with it and trying to combat it as well. Sort of hang on for dear life with a few things on a few bits. But yeah, that's the biggest change I've noticed for me.
Love it. All right. The next one is this. The whole show is sort of the ethos behind the show is helping people live happier, healthier, and more fulfilling lives. So it's kind of like if you ever heard Lewis Howes speak about the 3 truths question that he speaks about on School of Greatness. It's a similar kind of thing. Like if you was to give 3 pieces of advice for the listeners to follow after this episode, that if they follow them as sort of a life guide, are going to mean they're on the right sort of track for a happier, a healthier, and a fulfilling life. What would be the 3 things you'd share?
So for the healthier one, I'm going to combine the 2. Just use your body every day and fuel it like you don't hate yourself. Okay, the odd snack, the odd drink is fine, but literally I'm a big fan. I do something every day, whether it's a walk, gym session, boxing session, whatever it is I do, but I do every day. I will move. And every day, 80% of the food I'll eat is good. So I'll say that will be the main thing for my health. What was the other 2? Just want to make sure I give you these good.
Happy,
so we've got health,
healthy, fulfilling life.
Okay. Happy. I'm just going to go with connection away from the screen. So get in person with people, friends, family, loved ones. And for the love of fuck, put your phone away. Don't take your phone out and hold it upright. Don't take your phone out and put it down. Keep it in your pocket. Keep it in your handbag. Connection without the fucking sadness rectangle in front of you. Without a doubt. It's great. It's an incredibly useful tool, but put the fucking thing away. Be present with human beings.
And just to be clear, that's for the love of fuck.
Yeah, sorry.
Just to be clear. There we go. Okay. So that's happy, healthy. What about fulfilled?
That's a really, really good question. Fulfillment. Do you know what? I'm going to give you. I was talking about this with a friend the other day, and we were basically, it sounds a bit dark. We're both saying, what do we want on our headstones? Okay. And for me, we're kind of thinking, what do we want our legacy to be? And for me, it boils down to a real simple thing. And I said it in the first book, and I still stand by it, is that I did the best I could, and I left my life more in the black than in the red. So my goal is to do more good than I do harm. And that's it. Not that I ever plan to initially harm people, but more in the black than in the red. That's it. Just to make a positive difference to my time here on this earth, however long that may be.
Dan, this has been brilliant. I want to be mindful as well to make a bit of time for the members to ask questions. But just if anybody is hearing about you for the first time, they want to connect with you, they want to catch your content, and importantly, they want to just know a bit more about what is the book, where can they get it? Do you want to just share a little bit more about how they can do all that good stuff?
Yeah, put my name, Dan Meredith, into Amazon, and there's 4 books that will appear. How to Be Fucking Happy, How to Be Fucking Awesome. There's A Goat Gets What a Goat Wants, which is my late father's book. He didn't get a chance to write it, but I recorded him and wrote it for him. And so that's his book that I co-wrote. And there's the I Get Shit Done Planner. So there's things on Amazon you can purchase. At The Real Dan Meredith on Instagram, Coffee with Dan on Facebook. I'm always around somewhere.
Apart from when you turn it off, right? The phone has to be off.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm learning.
Put it in that pocket.
All right, Dan, brilliant. Final question is, what is your personal definition of success?
Oh, you've had some belters today, mate. A personal definition of success. Do you know what let me just give this one a little muse. Do you know what? I'm going to say making enough money to do what you love with the people you love when you want to do it. you don't need, yeah, like I said, more is not necessarily always good, because sometimes the more money you get, more success you have. There's obviously staff and stresses, but do you know what? I think that encapsulates it nicely. To have a job that you love, that makes a difference, that allows you to do, give or take what you want to do, and spend time with your loved ones as well. I think if you can get those all combined together without sacrificing your life and your happiness and your sleep and your health and all that kind of stuff, then it's a pretty fucking successful life.
Dan, it took us a while to make this happen, but I think we did a pretty bloody good podcast. Thank you so much, mate. I really appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.